The words hit me like physical blows. You're not my real daughter, and you never will be. My fork clattered against fine china as the Sunday pot roast turned to ash in my mouth. Mom's eyes, cold as winter frost, held no trace of the woman who had tucked me in for 25 years. I've spent 25 years trying to mold you into something acceptable, she continued, voice sharp as the knife beside my father's perfectly steady hand. But you're just not. The dining room, with its mahogany table polished to mirror shine, the crystal glasses catching afternoon light, the family photos arranged precisely on the wall, suddenly felt like a stage set. A beautiful lie I'd been living in my entire life. My name is Rose. I'm 28 and the secret owner of a bookstore chain. This is the story of how I reclaimed my true inheritance from the family that buried it. I didn't cry, didn't scream. Instead, I reached for my bag, the one I'd started bringing to these dinners 6 months ago when I first discovered the truth about my family. The weight of the flash drive inside it pressed against my hip like a promise. "Sophie, sit down," Dad finally spoke, his voice weak, eyes fixed on his wedding band. "Your mother's just upset." "Upset?" Mom laughed, a harsh sound stripped of warmth. "I'm beyond upset. I'm done. Done watching her waste her life. Done explaining why my daughter can't be more like her sister. Done pretending that this experiment in adoption was anything but a mistake." Luna finally looked up from her phone, her perfect features arranged in a mask of concern that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Mom, maybe you should—" "No, Luna. It's time someone said it." Mom stood straighter, shoulders squared. "Sophie, I want you out of this house. No more Sunday dinners, no more holidays, no more pretending we're one big happy family." I rose slowly, my chair making no sound against the hardwood floor. Years of preparation had led to this moment, though I hadn't expected it to arrive wrapped in such cruelty. "Nothing to say?" Mom's voice dripped with disdain. "Typical. Even now you can't show a hint of backbone." I looked at each of them in turn. Dad suddenly fascinated by the table's edge grain. Luna, thumb already hovering over her phone screen. And finally, Mom, standing rigid with 25 years of barely concealed resentment etched across her face. "Thank you for dinner," I said softly, then turned toward the door. "That's it? You're just gonna leave? No drama, no tears?" Mom called after me, sounding almost disappointed. I paused in the doorway, my hand on the knob. "What did you expect?" "Something. Anything. You're being kicked out of your family, for God's sake." A smile touched my lips then, just slightly. "No, Mom. I'm being kicked out of your family. There's a difference." With that, I closed the door gently behind me. As I slid behind the wheel of my modest sedan, the car they'd always criticized as beneath our status, I glimpsed them through the dining room window. Mom gesturing wildly, Dad slumped in his chair, Luna finally looking up from her phone with something like worry on her face. They had no idea what I'd found 6 months ago. No idea that Sunday dinners had become intelligence gathering operations. No idea that their perfectly controlled narrative was about to shatter. The vibration of my phone pulled me from my thoughts. A text from Olivia Anderson, CEO of Anderson Technologies. "Is it done?" My fingers hovered over the screen for just a moment before I typed, "Yes, it's time." As I drove away from the winter estate for what felt like the last time, I knew exactly where I needed to go. I turned my car toward the city center, where Olivia's penthouse awaited me. After tonight, everything would change. The metal lockbox felt unexpectedly heavy in my hands. 6 months ago, I'd found it tucked behind Christmas decorations in my parents' attic. Dad had stepped out to take a business call, leaving me alone among the dust and forgotten memories. Something about how carefully it had been hidden caught my attention. The key had been taped to the bottom, as if whoever placed it there wanted it found eventually, just not accidentally. Inside, beneath yellowed newspaper clippings and faded photographs, lay documents that transformed my understanding of everything. Not just the fact that I was adopted, I'd always known that, but the truth about who I really was. My adoption papers weren't from the agency my parents had always mentioned. Instead, they connected me to one of the wealthiest families in the country, the Andersons. More specifically, I was Olivia Anderson's daughter, the same Olivia Anderson who had disappeared from public life 28 years ago, only to return a year later to continue her work as one of the most successful businesswomen in the country. The same Olivia Anderson who had recently been in the news for her plans to step down as CEO of Anderson Technologies, with no clear successor in sight. But there was more. Bank statements showing a massive transfer, enough money to start a business. The Winter family business, the one Luna now helped run, the one they'd never let me join, always claiming I wasn't qualified enough. My entire life had been built on their lies, and the money they'd received for taking me, they'd used it to build their fortune while treating me like an unwanted obligation. My fingers traced over a photo I'd missed at first, a younger Olivia Anderson, her stomach rounded with pregnancy, fear visible in eyes identical to mine. I reached for my phone, my mind already forming a plan. After confirming the documents were authentic through a private investigator, I reached out to Olivia through her company's legal department, arranging our first meeting. "I've been looking for you," were the first words Olivia Anderson said to me 3 weeks later. We sat across from each other in a private room at the Heathrow Hotel, 3 hours from my hometown. She had the same dark hair as mine, the same green eyes, the same slight tilt to her chin that Victor Winter, had always criticized as stubbornness. "For 25 years, I've been searching." Her voice broke as she reached across the table to take my hand. Her fingers were warm, steady. "They told me you died during childbirth." I felt the floor shift beneath me. "What?" "My father, your grandfather, arranged everything. I was young, unmarried. He saw my pregnancy as a threat to the family name, to the company's public image. Her eyes never left mine. When I woke up after delivery, they told me there had been complications, that you hadn't survived." My throat tightened. "But the adoption papers? Forged. My father paid the Winters to take you and keep quiet. By the time I discovered the truth, they'd moved away, changed your name." Her fingers tightened around mine. "I hired investigators. Searched for years. The Winters covered their tracks well." "How did you finally find out I was alive?" I asked, trying to process this revelation. 5 years ago, my father fell ill. On his deathbed, he confessed everything. That you hadn't died, that he'd arranged your adoption with the Winters. He gave me what little information he had, but finding you still took years of private investigators and legal work. "I was getting close when you contacted me first," she explained, eyes glistening. "I thought of all the times Diana Winter had complained about my difficult personality, all the times she'd compared me unfavorably to Luna, all while cashing checks built on my existence. I'm stepping down as CEO soon," Olivia said, eyes bright with unshed tears. "I've built this company into something extraordinary, but I never wanted it for myself. I wanted it for you." Over the next months, I worked with Olivia in secret. I took online business courses, studied company reports, prepared for what was coming, all while continuing to work at my little bookstore. Actually, a successful chain of independent bookstores I'd built myself using knowledge gained from watching the Winters run their business. I'd kept it quiet, using a different name, letting them think I was just a simple employee. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd started with a small inheritance from my maternal grandmother, the only relative who ever seemed to truly care for me, and leveraged it with a small business loan to open my first store 5 years ago. Through careful management and strategic expansion, I'd grown it to 6 locations across the state, while my adoptive family remained completely unaware. The night of that final family dinner, after Diana's cruel words, I drove straight to Olivia's penthouse. The doorman recognized me immediately, nodding as I entered the private elevator to the top floor. Olivia had made sure I always had access, day or night. "They finally did it," I said, sinking into the leather couch. "They threw me out." Olivia's face hardened. "Are you okay?" I nodded, feeling strangely calm. "For the first time, I really am." She smiled, pulling out a leather portfolio filled with documents. "Then it's time. The board meeting is next week. Are you ready?" My fingers traced over the Anderson Technologies logo embossed on the portfolio. "I've been ready my whole life." The next morning, my phone exploded with messages from Luna. "Mom's freaking out," she wrote. "She didn't mean what she said. Come home." I didn't respond. Victor called next. "Princess, your mother was just upset. We can work this out." I let it go to voicemail. Even Diana tried, her message stiff and formal. "Sophie, you're being childish. We need to discuss this like adults." Like adults. As if she hadn't just thrown away 25 years of supposed motherhood in a single dinner. Instead of responding, I focused on final preparations with Olivia. We reviewed quarterly reports, practiced my presentation for the board, fine-tuned every detail of the announcement. "They won't know what hit them," Olivia said, pride evident in her voice. The week after that fateful dinner passed in a blur of preparation and strategic planning. Then, 1 week after that disastrous dinner, as the Winters continued their barrage of increasingly desperate messages, the business world was rocked by breaking news. Olivia Anderson announces successor for Anderson Technologies. Long-lost daughter returns to take the helm. My phone rang immediately. Luna. "Sophie," she gasped. You're on the news. You're Olivia Anderson's daughter. How is this possible?" I gazed out the window of my new office on the top floor of Anderson Technologies, 50 stories above the city, watching the world I now partly owned spread out beneath me. "You should ask Mom and Dad," I replied calmly. "They can explain exactly how possible it is." The line went silent for a moment. They knew? All this time they knew? "Ask them about the money they received 25 years ago," I said. "Ask them what they did with it. Ask them why they never let me join the family business." I hung up, turning to my desk where Olivia stood with a proud smile. "Ready for the press conference?" I stood, smoothing down my tailored suit, Anderson blue, not winter black. "More than ready." The press conference was a blur of camera flashes and rapid-fire questions. I stood at the podium, Olivia beside me as we shared our story. Parts of it, anyway. "Miss Anderson, how does it feel to discover your true heritage? What are your plans for the company? Were you surprised to learn about your biological mother?" I answered each question, with the poise Olivia had helped me perfect. No one needed to know about the tears, the anger, the years of feeling like I wasn't enough. This wasn't about revenge. It was about claiming what was rightfully mine. But revenge found me anyway. The real show began when the Winters arrived at Anderson Technologies the next day, demanding to see me. "Let them through," I instructed security when they called. It was time to finish this. They burst into my office looking completely out of place among the modern decor and floor-to-ceiling windows. Diana's perfect makeup couldn't hide her panic. Victor's usual confidence had vanished. "Sophie," Diana started, then corrected herself. "Catherine Jr., we can explain." I leaned back in my chair, taking in their desperate expressions. "Explain what? How you took money to hide me from my real mother? Or how you used that money to start your business while treating me like a burden?" "We gave you everything," Victor protested weakly. "A home, an education. The bare minimum," I cut in, while Luna got the best of everything. Private school, expensive cars, a guaranteed position in the family business. I leaned forward. "Tell me, how much of her privilege was bought with the money you received for taking me?" They exchanged guilty looks, and I knew I'd hit the mark. "Where's Luna?" I asked, noting my sister's absence. "She's not speaking to us," Diana admitted. "After she learned the truth, I couldn't help but laugh. "Your perfect daughter finally saw you for who you really are." "We did what we thought was best," Victor insisted. "We needed that money, and you needed a home." "No." I stood, placing my hands on the desk. What I needed was the truth. What I needed were parents who didn't make me feel like I was never enough. What I needed was a family who loved me for who I was, not what they could get from hiding me. Diana stepped forward, reaching out. "We did love you, Sophie. We still do. Please, we can't lose everything we've built." And there it was. Not, "We can't lose you," or, "We're sorry for what we did." They were worried about their business, their reputation, their standing in society. "You won't lose everything," I said, pulling out a folder. I'm not like you. I slid the documents across the desk. Inside this folder is a contract. Anderson Technologies is acquiring Winter Enterprises at a very generous price. You'll retain your positions under new management, of course. Luna, too, if she wants to stay. They stared at the documents in shock. Why? Victor asked. After everything we did. Because 25 years ago you taught me my first business lesson. Everything has a price. I tapped the contract. Consider this me paying you back for all those years of raising me. We're even now. Olivia chose that moment to enter the office. Diana physically recoiled at the sight of her. Mr. and Mrs. Winter. Olivia's voice was ice cold. I trust you find the terms of the acquisition fair, though it's more than you deserve after what you did. We'll sue, Diana threatened weakly. We'll tell everyone how you abandoned your daughter. No, you won't, I said calmly, because that story makes you look far worse than it does us. Sign the contract, keep your positions, and we'll all move forward professionally. Or don't, and watch everything you built with that blood money crumble. They signed. As they left my office, Diana turned back one last time. For what it's worth, I am sorry. Not for what we did, but for what I said at dinner. You were always more capable than we gave you credit for. I nodded, but said nothing. Her words meant little now. As they left my office, the weight of 25 years of feeling inadequate finally lifted from my shoulders. After they left, Olivia put her arm around me. Are you okay? I am, I replied, surprising myself by how true it felt. They don't have the power to hurt me anymore. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from Luna. Inside was a photo of us as children playing in the backyard. I didn't know, she wrote. I'm sorry for every time I made you feel less than. For what it's worth, you were always the better daughter, the better person. I'd like a chance to know my real sister, if you'll let me. I placed the photo on my desk next to one of Olivia and me at the press conference, the past and present side by side. My phone buzzed with a message from Olivia. Dinner tonight, just us. I smiled, typing back a quick yes. Later that week, I met with Luna for coffee. I've decided to keep my position at Winter Enterprises, she told me, looking nervous. If that's okay with you, boss. We both laughed at the awkwardness, but I knew this was the first step toward rebuilding something new between us. Not as the sisters we were forced to be, but as the sisters we might choose to become. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't the family you end up with. Sometimes the path to finding yourself means losing everything you thought you were. And sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well, on your own terms. I had finally found my place, my purpose, and my real family. And that was worth more than any revenge could ever be. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. Zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.